Good morning. My name's Pete Goss, and what I'd like to do is introduce you to Tracey, my wife, and I, our new world, this wonderful boat, Pearl of Penzance. She's named Pearl because we bought her on the year of our 30th anniversary. I don't have a career, I have had a series of daft ideas, a lot of it ocean racing, all about technology, challenging the norm. You know, I did the single-handed round the world yacht race, and as I used to rattle around the world, it always used to strike me what a tragedy it was that I was rushing past all these wonderful places. So I promised myself when I hang up my racing hat, what I'd like to do is go around the world slowly and explore it. We reached that point 2 years ago, and this is our new home, so I'd like to show you around. I mean, the way I describe this boat is a Land Rover of the sea with a BMW interior. So I can sit with a glass of red in one hand, an inflatable globe in the other, and there is nowhere we can't go. And so safety was the first thing behind what we set out to do. So, you know, I could talk about all technical things around aluminium, but, you know, what do you want between yourself and the elements? So we have total confidence with this boat. And she's come straight out of the box and done everything that she's meant to do. We don't do marinas. We prefer to anchor in exotic bays and remote places. And when you look at this anchoring system, I mean, it's an absolute tank. It's reliable. We have a remote to control it. Big cleats welded into the structure. We have a capstan here, and everything's controllable. You know, you've got plenty of things to hold on to. And it's a very easy deck to work. The boat's very simple to sail, which is important for us. We wanted a boat big enough to go anywhere in the world, but small enough that the two of us could sail it with real confidence, two-handed. We've done 15,000 miles with just the two of us. Tracey had only done 2 night sails when we left, so the boat's really looked after us. But we have the volume to have guests as well. This isn't a weekend boat, and it doesn't live in a marina, and therefore you need good storage for what I call a garage, really. So we have this fantastic storage space down here for and, you know, we have fenders, I've got a hydro generator, we have my storm sails, spinnaker, Jenica, and it's all forward of this watertight bulkhead, so it keeps it away from the accommodation. And it's much, much bigger than you might think. When you think about it in terms of safety, we have this massive crash box. There's huge structure up there anyway. So the boat's like a little nuclear submarine, really. We have solar power, wind power, hydro power. And that just runs the whole boat, everything, autopilots, fridges, freezers, and we just never worry about power. We have unlimited hot water, we have a water maker. So provided we've got food on the boat, we can just go anywhere. And we've easily put 6 months of food, so we're pretty independent. Tracey and I have spent many an hour here toasting the sunset, and it's a lovely little spot. But there's an interesting aspect under my feet. As a boat that anchors all the time, we have a lot of chain. I mean, we have over 300 feet of chain. But the really cool thing is it comes from the bow through a conduit, around the capstan, which when we're at sea is protected by the hatch, and then it drops down into the bottom of the boat. So what that does is it means all of the weight of the chain is right down low and helping our righting moment. But it's also not at the bow, you know, inducing lots of pitching. And these are the really simple little things that are quite profound in terms of practicalities of sailing. Everybody has that headache of a corroded capstan. Well, we just shut it down and it's in home with us. Rather woundingly, in England, we call these granny bars, but they are fantastic. You know, I can run my halyards here, but if you do have to come up to work on this area, you know, you're tucked in, you're nice and safe. So, I mean, one of the great things about this deck is there's just so many handholds, and they're all in the right place. This coach roof is just fantastic. We don't have a great big tennis court that you slide across. I can walk along, and I feel really safe working on the deck. Over the 2 years of cruising, we've found, you know, what a complex function the cockpit has to deliver. And I mean, obviously, first thing is safety, and we have this hard cuddy here, which gives us great confidence. Then, in terms of practicalities, we've got 2 wheels, so, you know, we have great vision either side of the boat. We have all of the sail controls come back here into the cockpit, so we can manage the whole boat from the safety of this area here. It was also a social area. We have sat 15 people here. We have a sound system, so we've had a lot of fun. We have a lot of storage. So up here we've got my paddle boards. We also have a dinghy storage here, which isn't up at the moment, but it's so easy to launch and retrieve the dinghy. And then to get on and off the boat, we're not scrambling up the side and people falling in and out of the boat. It's really as simple as that. And I'm down here, and basically it's the same as standing on a marina pontoon. It's so good. And when you're doing long-term cruising, you know, you're often coming in with a dinghy full of shopping and food and heavy stuff. So to me, this is one of the most important safety features of the boat. You know, there's loads of storage. We have a gas locker back here. We have a rear anchor roller which feeds to the electric winch. The life raft is very easily accessible. And it's a lovely walkthrough. We're not trying to wrestle around a wheel. And like I say, you know, when it's a bit windy, we can sit under this cuddy. We're quite safe. When it's very bad, we put the bimini away. That's what the boat does, is it changes gear to the conditions that we're in. When we're in the Bahamas, we have a lovely big shade. When we're more remote and extreme areas, we have a screen that comes down here. And that gives us this no man's land where we can have wet gear. It means we can leave the main door open, but I can steer the boat from here. And we have controls everywhere. Wherever I am in the cockpit, I can control the boat. Fingertip stuff. So that's the cockpit done, and I have to introduce you to these amazing doors. I have actually been rolled upside down in my sailing career, and I wouldn't recommend it, but something like this gives us complete waterproof integrity. And it's amazing. The boat has 70mm of insulation throughout, including the floorboards, so it's kind of like living in a little sleeping bag. And we have armoured double glazed glass around here. And we were in a 478, come down, shut this door, and you could play choral music. It's kind of weird, it's fantastic. But the other nice thing for Tracey in particular is when I go away on business, she can lock the front door with absolute confidence, and she never used to like washboards. One of the key reasons we were drawn to this boat was its DNA. Jimmy Cornell, world famous world cruiser, 300,000 miles. He was also a reporter, and he did 15,000 in-depth surveys of all of the blue water cruisers he came across. Got to his 70s, wanted to build his dream boat, and so the Garcia 45 Exploration was born. And there's 1,001 details which spread throughout the boat. He built the prototype, that did 30,000 miles. All the lessons for that then folded into what we have here, which is version 2. I mean, you know, you want your stores? Look at this, absolutely fantastic. And I think one of the interesting things that he laid down was that no area of the boat could be inaccessible. So behind every locker, every drawer, there's an inspection panel, and you can get access to it. But the boat has also been designed with this redundancy and reliability in mind. And I think a lot of it, I guess the essence of the boat to me can be embodied in the steering. If we look at this, we have yet another watertight bulkhead. So where you generally get problems with water ingresses at either end, we have one at the front, one at the back. Behind the watertight bulkhead, we have the steering gear, and it's a little ship. We have 2 wheels, we have 2 rudders. Each are completely independent and standalone units, which are connected with a tie bar. So if we have catastrophic damage to one of our rudders, we remove the tie bar and we have 100% redundancy. But then the thinking goes beyond that. So when you hit your rudder, what happens is it generally bends back, the back of the rudder punches the hole and you have a leak, or it jams. Well, with our rudders, we have this crush box at the top. And in fact, when Jimmy went through the Northwest Passage, he rattled through the ice, sailed all the way across the Atlantic to France, lifted the boat out to do the anti-fouling, to find that they'd bent the rudder stop, and he was completely unaware of it. And you know, these are the things that give you great confidence with this lovely boat. It's really well built. We picked up the boat, we did 3-day sails, and then we set off across the Atlantic. Tracey had only done 2 night sails at that time, so it was a really big step for her. Crossed the Bay of Biscay in December, cold, gales. So she took us through all that, Canaries, across to Antigua. My job list was basically a day's work, and then we were ready to go again. So a big thing for us when we set off on this journey is the boat should serve our aspirations rather than us serve the boat. We come across so many people who just spend their life waiting for parts, trying to do repairs, whereas we're out there living the dream. And that's the whole point, surely. The hidden genius behind this boat is that it has a centreboard. With the centreboard up, we only draw 3.5 feet. That's, you know, up to my waist of water. That gives us access to really interesting places that other blue water boats can't get to. It's a centreboard. This is hugely important. It's not a lifting keel, so the ballast is permanently integral within the hull. If you have a lifting keel, as you reduce your draft, you also reduce your righting moment, which is the fundamental safety feature required for a monohull, and nobody talks about this. So we always have permanent righting moment. We have the ability to dry the boat out, which is very, very important. The other thing that happens, and it's quite dramatic, is when you pull the centreboard up as you go downwind, all the lateral resistance moves to the back of the boat, and we're not tripping up on the keel as we go down waves. The boat becomes docile. It's pretty much impossible to break, particularly as we have twin rudders. As an example, we were mid-Atlantic on our first ocean crossing, certainly for Tracey, and our record was 18.2 knots down this huge wave, and we were eating breakfast in the cockpit. But there's other little ramifications that come with a centreboard. One is because there's no weight to be lifted, it means the engineering can be simple. I literally have a rope and pulley and I can lower it by hand. Should we have a problem at anchor in quiet water, we can lift the top off the centreboard case and we can make it good. It's quite funny, when we approach a really busy anchorage, there's this wonderful gap between the anchored boats and the beach. And that whole territory is ours. We pull up the centreboard and the world is our oyster. We do get other boats in there and they have to be shallow draft, but the interesting thing is if it's a lifting keel, that's the boat that's rocking like this, because of course they've reduced their righting moment. And if the wind comes up, there's all little details, and boats start to drag, they're dragging away from us. So it's like a multifaceted benefit. And this is our home. Why would you design a boat that would take you somewhere exotic and then provide a cave to live in? And you kind of think, God, it's so obvious. And the solution, of course, is this we have here. And it's really lovely, it's light, it's airy. So when we're sat, we're at the eye level of the windows. When we're standing, we're still at that level. We can steer the boat from here. So when it's raging a maelstrom outside, we're down here in our slippers drinking tea, eating toast, which tastes better when we can see other people freezing in their cockpit. I know that sounds mean, but there we go, it's great. One of the benefits of having this elevated floor for the view is we have massive area for storage underneath. And we literally have a ton of fuel. So we put a ton of fuel on the boat, we have half a ton of water, and that means we refuel the boat probably 2-3 times a year. We put the fuel in when it's good quality and it's cheap. Comforts of home up forward, we have a double bed with an ensuite bathroom. We have a proper sea berth for when we're at sea. If people do come on the board, particularly kids, they have their own cabin aft and they have their own bedroom. And we wanted the two separated by this accommodation because, I mean, I was a dairy farmer originally and Tracey's a really early riser. And our old boat, we used to lie in bed for 2 hours waiting for people to wake up. Well, the joy of this is, you know, we can all get on and have a good time, but everyone has their private space. One thing with Garcia is they are an engineering company. So when you get the boat, you have to spend a week with them and they do half a day training every day. You can't take in any more, but you have one day with the electrician, one day with the plumber, and so you go through. They then give you this manual which covers absolutely everything. If you want to know how the steering works, there it is. If you want to know how the toilet works, you have a colour picture. And the factory are always there to help. We have all of the part numbers, so if you have any issues, it's just so simple, you know, and it's how it should be, really. It's a funny little detail, but the heating on this boat, I mean, obviously it's really well insulated, but we have a Webasto heater which has a ring main of hot water running around the boat, so that heats our water tank. We have perpetual hot water. But what happens then is there's a heat exchanger in each cabin with its own thermostat, and a hot air blower is blowing warm, dry air into the bottom of the boat. But the problem I've always had on boats is you then get this fuggy collection of damp air at the top, which induces lots of condensation. So on this boat, we have strategically placed around the top this very imperceptible extractor fan that draws all of that mug out, and we always have clear windows. We just don't have condensation. It's a little detail, but my goodness, it makes such a difference to living on the boat. Hope you've enjoyed our little tour of the good ship Pearl. And you know, she's 2 years old. We've done 15,000 miles. We took this leap of faith and the experience has been amazing. It sounds corny, she's called Pearl, but the world is our oyster. And one of the important points really is, you know, she serves our aspirations. We don't serve Pearl. We turn the key and we get on and she delivers. And that was what we wanted. It has been amazing.